Welcome to Pennsylvania in Focus. I'm Anthony Hennon. A bipartisan task force investigating the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump requested a trove of documents and interviews on Wednesday. Joining me today is the Center Square's Pennsylvania editor, Kristen Smith. Kristen, what are we looking for in these documents, in these interviews? What is the task force trying to accomplish here?
There's not a lot of surprises in what they're asking for in this document. The chairman of the task force, who is actually Pennsylvania Republican U.S. Representative Mike Kelly, and the ranking Democrat member, which is U.S. Representative Mike Crow from Colorado, they want the Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Secret Service to give them interviews. They want on-the-ground communications between the agents that were there and law enforcement. And they want to know everything about the conversations that were had when the gunman was identified as a suspicious person. They want to know site selection protocol. They even want to know things like what was going on at the First Lady's own appearance in another part of Pennsylvania, I want to say, but don't quote me. They want to know what kind of security measures were in place that day. So really, I think to compare and contrast here the two events and get a sense of, was there incompetence? What was the true breakdown here? Obviously, there's a lot of rumor and there's a lot of conspiracy. And the task force has really tried to get answers that either explain away those conspiracies or just really get to the bottom of what happened. Because as we know, as time goes on, there's only more questions about what happened and how it happened and how this gunman was able to not only nearly kill Trump, but also did kill one man and wound two others seriously.
And it seems they're asking for this stuff fairly quickly, right? The deadline for a response is, about a week or so?
Yeah, they have to get back by September 4th, which is just after Labor Day. And this request actually came just 2 days after the task force went back to the Butler Farm Show grounds to kind of revisit the entire situation on the ground, to talk with law enforcement. Representative Kelly said on his Twitter account that, what we saw and heard underscored concerns about multiple security shortcomings and the lack of a common understanding among local law enforcement officials about exactly how the Secret Service intended to address a threat like this one that developed. So that is kind of indicative of what we've been hearing already, is that there was a lot of miscommunication on the ground between the different law enforcement agencies. There was a lot of finger pointing, particularly from the Secret Service, trying to put the blame on local police for having, not responded to this suspicious person sooner. Of course, there's a lot of people, a lot of lawmakers, a lot of officials who think that kind of finger pointing is ridiculous, that it is up to the Secret Service to protect a former president, and it doesn't matter how far or how little the perimeter went out. And just for reference, the gunman was on a roof, I think 400 feet away from the president, within a clear shot of him. So the idea that the Secret Service wasn't protecting, or at least aware of that rooftop, seems a little hard to believe for a lot of people. So this is something that the task force, as time goes on, they need to understand where the Secret Service was on this, and really to try to get to the bottom of where the breakdown happened and who really should be held responsible. If you want to look back at some of the events that happened in the immediate aftermath of this, the U.S. Secret Service director did resign. Kimberly Cheadle, she was resigned under immense pressure because she really couldn't answer any questions about what happened. And she had multiple excuses for why the Secret Service didn't intervene. She blamed the pitch at the roof. She blamed local law enforcement. She said that there was overhead support, so they didn't need to be on that roof. So there was just a lot of conflicting information about how this happened. And that's why the task force exists, because they need to kind of cut through the BS, if you will, and figure out what went wrong that day. But it doesn't look like we're all that much closer to finding out yet.
Kristen, thanks for joining us today. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.